Hello, and welcome to the fourth and final tutorial in the series on sketching with Schillinger. Regular viewers have requested a more detailed illustration of how to compose music with techniques from the Schillinger System and demonstrate the steps to get from basic sketches and ideas to a full composition. So I created a dedicated 4-minute piece incorporating various Schillinger techniques. This orchestral composition was introduced in part 1. The second episode discussed techniques in the melody and rhythm domain, while part 3 zooms in on the harmony. This final tutorial presents the overlap between these domains when implementing the thematic melodic figuration approach in the closing section. Let's introduce this series. In case you already watched part 1, the overview, you may want to skip the next 2 sections and instead fast forward to or continue with section 3. Over the years, I've uploaded many tutorials about techniques from the Schillinger System of musical composition. There you'll find fundamentals and numerous examples. However, viewers have been asking, please could you demonstrate the sketching process in more detail? Show me how you get from a basic sketch with a single or a combination of Schillinger techniques to the final version of a piece of music. Since I'm not a fan of doing live streams, my answer is this 4-part series built around an original orchestral composition, where I'll demonstrate the sketching process. Parts 2 to 4 will focus on the details, specific aspects such as melody, rhythm, harmony and orchestration. The first episode, however, serves as an overview and may be used as a reference, with the full-length composition as reduced score and audio. As always, you'll see diagrams, staff notation, and there will be numerous audio fragments. If you would like to support my tutorial production efforts, you may do so through a single PayPal donation or become a patron and get access to regular uploads with additional content. This overview section is an abbreviated version of the equivalent section 2 in part 1 in the series. It describes the context of this set of tutorials. I'm a regular user of the Schillinger System of musical composition, a system for writing music that is now almost a century old. It is available as a reprint 2-volume book set. In more than 1500 pages you'll find 12 books called The Theory of Rhythm, Scales, Melody, Harmony, etc. I published and uploaded many practical tutorials on techniques from the system. I still find it's a great toolbox for writing functional music when you're not in a position to wait for inspiration and you have to meet strict deadlines. I think its greatest potential lies in the generalization approach, where all options, permutations and combinations are investigated. In case you are new to the Schillinger System, watch these 2 videos about the definitions and terminology. There will be lots of references to specific YouTube tutorials in this video. Regularly, in response to these tutorials, there have been requests for a more detailed demonstration of the sketching process, as the online content frequently moves from the fundamentals to the final version of the examples, skipping a number of intermediate steps. And that's what I'll be doing here, with this series around a 4-minute and 116 bars long example orchestral composition with A, B, C, D form. You'll see the application of many Schillinger System techniques, where in this episode the focus is on a specific domain, either melody, rhythm, harmony or orchestration. The starting point for the sketching process is this humble melodic cell, a set of 3 pitch units C, D and E flat. In this section, section 3 from part 4, you'll see an application of the Schillinger System technique called melodic figuration. This technique becomes relevant after you've written a basic harmony setting. The chord progression receives melodic interest through the insertion of evolving leading tones. For doing so, there are multiple options, but in general I find the thematic melodic figuration type the most useful, and that is what I did here. The starting point is a 4-part diatonic harmony setting. The final version of the example composition closing section also has strata harmony characteristics. 2 different techniques presented in part 3. The melodic figuration theme is the antecedent phrase from the melodic continuity derived in part 2. You may want to watch this set of video tutorials for more on these subjects. In addition to the main theme, there are various instances where you'll see the use of inverted forms as counter motif. As I said in the introduction, the focus here is on the sketching process for the closing D section of the example composition. In this subsection I'll present the basic ingredients for the melodic figuration setting. The starting point is this 4-part diatonic harmony progression in C minor that will later modify into a denser multilayer setting. These chord changes are in the harmonic continuity block in the lower left of the technique's overview diagram. The progression has strong cadential character through the use of positive diatonic root cycles only. It moves from the tonic degree C minor to the dominant G dominant 9, thus representing a half cadence. The main theme is the antecedent phrase AB from this melodic continuity, a block in the upper right sector in the diagram and derived in part 2. Each chord in the diatonic progression contains the 3 pitch classes C, D and E flat as a different subset of chordal functions, as I demonstrated in part 3 from the series. The rhythm is based on the binary synchronization fractioning process with the 4-3 time unit interval generator combination, also from part 2. Using a different time unit we obtain this triplet variation, corresponding to rhythmical diminution. In the audio you'll hear the original melodic form, but it is the inversion form that will be used as a counter theme. At the end of part 2, I showed how octave transposition of some pitches and the use of a different rhythm yielded this main theme setting in the opening phrase of the closing section. I've indicated the chordal functions of pitch class C and E flat in each chord. The pitch D is considered a passing tone. Listen to the first draft of this theme over the basic harmony as sustained chords. I will take you through a set of sketches of the closing section, most of which ended up on Oblivion Road. Remember how I sketched sets of alternating extended chords in part 3. One of these included the A-flat major 9 chord, and that returned here as the first chord in an early sketch, set as bichord, E-flat major over F minor triad, in 2 3-part layers, with inversion position triads. I combined this with the tritone related D major 13, also voiced as bichord, F sharp minor over incomplete B minor 7 chord, and wrote this pair of alternating chords in thirds as a progression with increasing part density in opening contrary motion. Near the end you see the introduction of a lower and upper layer in strata harmony. The upper layer has 2 parallel parts through diatonic 6th couplings, the bass part has a perfect 5th coupling. I decided not to use this simple pair of alternating chords, but decided to keep the idea of developing a 4-part progression into a much denser strata texture. The second sketch uses the main theme over sustained diatonic harmony as opening statement, with a melodic figuration in the lead part. I continued the section with the main theme set as variable chordal functions. This progression contains chromatic median chord changes. Listen to the 2-piano rendering of the framework, with melody panned to the left and harmony to the right in the stereo field. I'll discuss the details afterwards. The section opens in C minor mode with a basic tonic degree triad. See the voicing in the upper grand staff. Moving to the A flat major 7 and F minor 9, the chord tension increases while using stable positive diatonic root cycles. I like those characteristics. The chord change F minor to A major is a nice harmonic twist. It is a third order Riemannian transformation, this time yielding a hexatonic pair. See my set of tutorials on this subject for an overview and more details. In the lead I modified the original main theme, and thus I was not too pleased with this aspect of the sketch. There are many moving inner parts in this draft version, a good characteristic, and I also liked the stepwise ascending phrases in the bass part. As the section continues, we hear the A major, C sharp minor, D to B minor 7 chord progression, with intermediate tonal center on pitch A. Although it raises harmonic interest, I simply didn't like the effect, a matter of taste in this context, I suppose. The next chord change has two tritone related minor chords. It has a surprise effect and is an element from the Schillinger symmetric harmony system. It brings us back to the subdominant degree in C minor. However, I could not get excited. Study the thematic material in detail, and you'll agree that not much of the original main theme has remained. That is not the idea behind thematic melodic figuration, so I considered this a very poor implementation indeed. What you could not hear in the piano framework, but which will appear in the orchestral rendering later, is this inverted triplet variation on the main theme in the top layer. That's a thing I definitely liked, since it brings back original music elements from the earlier sections. That's an elegant unification of ideas, creating consistency in the composition. And also, there is this continuously ascending middle part, in support of the climax towards the end effect. You'll find this technique frequently in Tchaikovsky and Ravel music, and again, I liked that attribute. The closing cadence is from C minor to D major. That may be interpreted as a Phrygian minor mode closing in D. Not too fond, I would say. This also has the side effect that the section closes on a different key, fairly remote from the supremacy of C minor in all earlier sections. So it is not very consistent, and this element therefore was rejected. The sustained notes in the lead have nothing to do with the thematic melodic figuration approach, so I felt I could do better here. The bass part continues its ascending trajectory, a good thing. The voicing has changed from closed position 4 part to a wide open position strata harmony setting, with increased density, and that supports the climax closing. For you, I decided to do a limited orchestral sample library rendering of this sketch, an intermediate step in composing the closing section. Try and identify the features I elucidated just a moment ago. Let's summarize this sketch as some good ideas, but there definitely is room for improvement. And that is what I achieved in this third sketch, with a modified chord progression, a single key center, and more consistent use of the Schillinger melodic figuration technique. Of course, the useful elements from the previous sketch remained as much as possible. Again, here is the harmony melody framework in a 2-piano rendering, and we'll discuss the details in the next subsection. I felt that now I was on target, harmonically and with the implementation of the main theme as melodic figuration with variable chordal functions, and ready to orchestrate the closing section. Part of the orchestration process is the creation of appropriate instrumental forms. An introduction to that subject is the next video tip, another Schillinger System tutorial on my channel. The section starts with soft strings and harp in 4-part close position voicing. The lead is for second violins doubled in the solo first violin. There is occasional descending portamento, suggesting an emotional sigh in the lead part. The harmonic framework we saw earlier has been rewritten. Obtaining favorable positive diatonic root cycles are 3, as we move from C minor to A flat major 7 to F minor 9, with rising tension level. The main theme, the melodic continuity antecedent phrase, is set as chordal functions 1 and 3 over C minor and as 3 and 5 over A flat major 7, with pitch class D as passing or leading tone. Notice how these chordal functions change in the later statements. I mentioned this before, but the combination of lead melody and the bass part yields contrary opening motion. The part density has not increased, but the melancholic mood impact increases. I delayed the introduction of other orchestral groups, woodwinds and brass, until the second main theme statement. Listen to the closing section in this submix with the 3 main theme element statements and the harmonic background. Try and concentrate on the moving inner parts, the use of imitation motifs, the build-up to climax with brass and busier instrumental forms, the transition with the roving harmony, and the surprise chromatic mediant plagal closing cadence from A flat major in first inversion position to the final extended C major chord. Here the third is omitted, so there is ambiguous major-minor chord quality. All this is indicated in the annotations. You may already have heard it in this audio fragment, but I decided to let the triplet rhythm inversion melodic continuity statement return later in this section. This counter melody moves through the layers and orchestral groups, and also in 2-part parallel diatonic setting in strata harmony. Again, listen to the audio rendering of this musical element, starting somewhere in the middle of the closing section. I also included some harmony parts in this submix, and read along with the annotated reduced score. There is minor inconsistency in the application of the Schillinger strata harmony technique, as there is some part overlap between layers. Here, the orchestration and selection of appropriate instrumental forms should help to separate and discern the individual motif statements. And now listen to the final, full orchestral mix of the closing section. It is an excerpt from the full piece found in part 1 from this series. you've reached the end of this series on sketching with Schillinger. Originally, I planned to do this as a single episode, but there was so much to tell about the application of Schillinger System techniques that this turned out to be a 4-part series. I did create a new, fresh example composition. So the sketching path I showed you in these episodes is the real, actual trajectory through the Schillinger Techniques toolbox. I deliberately started with my humble 3-pitch melodic cell, to which I applied techniques in the melody, rhythm, harmony and orchestration domain. These you'll find presented in the separate and specific episodes. From the basic ideas, I composed a longer piece in 4 sections, with contrasting tempo and instrumental forms. You saw how and why I rejected or accepted certain building blocks. The composition process involved editing, revisions, and may lead to a non-strict following of Schillinger rules. Personal taste and experience will guide my decisions. The composition process took far less time and effort than creating this set of videos. I hope I sufficiently showed the intermediate steps. Along the way, I included numerous references to other video tutorials on the channel. This series may help to develop your composition skills and discovery trip through the Schillinger System of musical composition. After it was published 80 years ago, there is still so much useful content to be found there. Since it has received mixed acceptation and appreciation, I prefer not to enter that discussion and instead use it where I have found it beneficial. For my patrons, there is the companion document to this series, plus the access to multimedia content, the source material for these videos. Hopefully you'll find this demonstration of the sketching process most useful. If you enjoyed watching this tutorial, please give it a like and subscribe to the channel. One-time PayPal donations and new patrons that support my production of video tutorials are most welcome. You'll find the links in the description below. Visit the website for more content or for purchasing ebooks on musical analysis, arranging for orchestra and Schillinger rhythm. Since this part will be uploaded after the start of the new year, I wish you all a healthy and creative 2023. Take care, stay safe, see you next time and thanks for watching.